Hello and welcome back to the Leaving Cert Guidance podcast, your go-to place for all Leaving Cert guidance and tips. I'm Sarah and today we're talking about one of the biggest decisions, probably the biggest decision that you're going to make in your school years, which is choosing your college course and getting the most out of those all-important open days. Joining me is Donnchadh, our guidance expert who's helped countless students navigate the CAO, explore different pathways and find the course that really fits for them. So we're going to cover everything today, from narrowing down your options to asking the right questions on campus. So grab a notebook and a pen or just sit back and listen, because there's a lot of advice and hopefully lots of pointers coming your way. Today's episode is sponsored by findmycollegecourse.ie, so don't forget to try the CAO Focus Interest Test and check out the teacher dashboard and guidance chatbot to make your course decisions even easier. If you do want to try the test, make sure to use the promo code LCGPOD to get 20% off.
LCG Pod, 20% off. That's very good. Make sure you try that one out. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, today's podcast should be very interesting. And in fact, yes, I can give you information on open days and that, but Sarah herself comes to a lot of open days with me. So you yourself, Sarah, might be able to give some tips as well, because we've been to countless open days, and we will be in November and December. We'll be going to a good few more this year as well. So Sarah will be giving a few tips today as well.
Absolutely, I'll try my best.
No
you
pressure.
Might know a tiny bit more than me. I know, put me on the spot there. So we're going to start at the very beginning, as we always do. So when you're choosing a college course, what is the first step that students should take when deciding?
So it's research. Research is key at this stage. I would say if you're a fifth year or even a sixth year, now is when you want to start setting your goals for the year. If you're a fifth year, kind of trying to figure out what courses you like the look of. Nobody's asking you to commit and say this is absolutely what you have to pick now. But seeing what courses you like and what point range they're generally in around is a good start. So plenty of research. Well, and I would always say the CAO website, and we'll come on to a few more resources in a few minutes, is really good. And going to the university website itself gives you the most up-to-date information on the course. So the key thing is research. And what a lot of people don't do, because sixth year is so busy, is just take the time to research. And it might only be a couple of hours some weekend, and something might hit you straight away and say, yeah, that's for me. Or it might take you even longer, or you might need the help of some people. And again, that's okay, because this is a crucial decision. So what you're doing is your due diligence, because, courses and college life is quite expensive. But the way I see it is, it's an investment by the student and their family, a future investment. But if you talk to any investor, they'll do their due diligence before buying any stock. And that's essentially what you're doing. You're doing due diligence on the course, and you're doing due diligence on the university as well. So it's worth taking that time.
And how important would you say it is to match a course to future job prospects?
I think it's getting harder and harder to do that with the changes in technology, and they're so fast that it's hard to be thinking about job prospects. I would always say, let's just focus on the next step. What's the next step going to be? What are you interested in? What are you passionate about? Because I do really think it's so difficult to think about careers right now. We'll hold off on that part. But the next step is, what would I like to study? Because even after you graduate, there are so many different ways you can go into different careers, like graduate internships or postgrads or masters. There's lots of different ways to get to where you want to go. So my big thing is, firstly, focus on what you would really like to study, what you're passionate about, what you find really interesting. Because more often than not, if you find something you're really interested in, you'll be very good at it, you'll be passionate about it. I wasn't great in school, but I loved studying history. And I knew I wanted to study history when I was going to college. And then when I got there, I was so passionate about it. I excelled because I was studying a topic that I was really interested in. And that's important for students, to study something that they're really interested in. Not so much because of the careers the other end, but more so, let's get over the first step. Firstly, what we're going to pick, and then secondly is to graduate. So let's not think too far down the line, and let's the next step is what all we're focusing on.
I remember a great piece of advice someone gave me. I can't remember who it was, but they said the jobs that I'm going to be looking at in 3-4 years' time haven't even been invented when I'm selecting my course. Do you know what I mean? So it's important that you're devoting your time into something that you actually want to study, as opposed to maybe a specific job.
And look, I hear so many stories about people who have this degree but they have this job. I helped a student recently who just graduated from early childhood studies and got a graduate internship in a media company, a television media company, a British one that's based here in Ireland. And it had nothing got to do with the degree, but they wanted to hire an intern that had a degree, number one. They weren't really that bothered what the degree was in. And she's done a complete 180, 360, you could say, into a different career that's nothing like her undergrad was. And there's lots and lots of people like that. I could tell loads of those stories. Like, you know, when I was doing history, I would say 90% of my classmates are doing a job now that has nothing got to do with history. So it's just getting that first level 8, level 7, level 6, whatever it is, getting over that first, and then you'll have options to consider then.
Do you think that students should focus on the college that they want to go to first, or the course that they want to study first?
It's a good question, and you can look at it from both sides. I think it's important for the student to be comfortable in the environment. So if they really want to go somewhere, that's absolutely fine. I always really wanted to play football in UCD, so I did that for a while. And that was the only reason I really went, because they always had a really good Sigerson Cup football team, and I really wanted to do that and went to do that. Now, I happen to love UCD, but part of the reason for that was because I played football and I made friends and things like that. So, but the course is very important. So, for example, if you do a history degree in UCC and you do a history degree in DCU, they could be completely different. If you do an engineering degree in UCD and an engineering degree in Galway, they could be completely different. Just because they have engineering in the name, the specialisms could be very different. The modules could be very different. So you have to really look at what you're interested in. There was parts of history I really wanted to study and parts I had no interest in. So when I was looking at my history degrees, I wanted to make sure that it offered kind of the modern European and Irish history that I was interested in. Because some history courses don't offer that. So when you get into the nitty gritty of the modules in a degree, you might think, God, I really want to go to that college, but the breakdown of it is not really what I want. But what it is over here in this college, I think I'd really, really like that one. So I get both sides of the story, but the nitty gritty of the degree is really important. But if you do really want to go to a college, I have no problems with that as a guidance counsellor talking to someone. If, you know, I really want to go here, absolutely, let's get this down on your CAO list, but also let's have a couple of backup as well.
And you mentioned the CAO website and the college websites earlier. What other resources are there to help students, you know, research their courses?
So this might be a bit self-serving, but Leaving Cert Guidance, the social media page, we actually, myself and Sarah, and we go around to different universities and colleges all around the country and ask first-hand current students, lecturers, what the course entails, what new courses they're bringing out. They're generally 30 to 50 second videos that give you that information, and we show you where else you can go and find more information. I do think it's a good resource, and people do come up to us and say it's a really good resource. If you don't have any idea what you want to do at all, I would look at findmycollegecourse.ie. It's a CAO specific interest test, and if it's CAO specific courses you're looking at, this would be very good. So findmycollegecourse.ie is for people who are using their Leaving Cert results to apply to the CAO. So you might not have your Leaving Cert results already, but you're going to be considered a Leaving Cert applicant. So it could be your Leaving Cert results from 2020, 2022, 2025, 2026. It doesn't matter if you're using your Leaving Cert results to apply to college. That's a really good test, and will give you your options based on what points you think you're going to get, where you would like to study, if you meet the minimum entry requirements. So it's an interest test first, but you have to give it lots of other detail, because it's not going to give you a course you're not going to get the grades for, or you'll have the minimum entry requirements for. It'll only give you what you tell it that you think you're going to get, and it'll give you your options then. So that's really good. CAO.ie I think is brilliant. I really don't think outside the CAO handbook, the courses. So when you look at the course search on CAO.ie, if you click on the link on the code, it actually brings you directly to the university website. So that course page, which I think is
Okay.
brilliant because that's the most up-to-date information. There are a lot of intermediary websites that mightn't have the most up-to-date information, but the college is always changing their content and that from the web page. So I would go direct to the source and go to the college page, and you can do that from cao.ie. I do think Qualifax is good because it tells you events that are coming up in the near future. That is really handy to have. It has a subject requirement tool that's really good as well. So Qualifax.cao.ie, findmycollegecourse.ie, Leaving Cert Guidance, Instagram and TikTok, and lots of good Instagram and TikTok pages from the universities and colleges themselves who are putting out superb content on information there as well.
You mentioned the CAO briefly there, so we're just going to touch on it for a few minutes because I think probably the most asked question when it comes to filling out your CAO is how many courses should someone actually put on?
Yeah, so we have a level 8 list that you can have up to 10 options on, and there's a level 6-7 list that you can also have up to 10 options on. So potentially you could be applying for 20 courses. Now I think if you have a course that you like, or a category or a genre of course you like, and you can fill out all 20, I think that's a brilliant idea. Now you can put down one on your list if you want. You can put down 20, you can put on 5, you can put on 2 from each if you like. Whatever way you want to do it, you can do it that way. A little formula I often give to students, and it works out pretty well, and this is based purely on experience, because I've seen students do better than they should have and they didn't apply for the course. I've seen students do worse than they should have, and again they didn't apply for the course. So I always say pick 3 dream courses, forget about the points, look at the courses that you're really, really interested in, and if I got the points, that's what I'd absolutely love. And then I would look at 5 courses where I'll probably be in around those points. So for my Christmas exams, my mocks, my summer exams, I've been in around the marks for this course that they have the points they've been the last few years. And then your last 2, I would say, are your backup courses. So they're significantly lower in the points you think you're going to get. And that you've researched these courses, you've researched the university, and if it came down to it, that you'd be happy enough to take it. Because a lot of students said, oh, I got offered my 4th or 5th choice, but I don't really want it. Why is it down on your list in the first place? You haven't done enough research or study in the courses to get the right ones on your list. There are 10 courses in the CAO out of over 1,500 courses that you will like, but it's down to you researching.
And I think a lot of students, they might not know or have heard of anybody doing a specific course, some of the newer, lesser known ones. Do you think it's risky putting one of those down on your CAO?
So I don't think so, and people do ask that. It's a new course. I don't know what graduates do, or what the course content is, or whatever. They will all have that information. You can talk to the lecturers, again, lecturers who have designed the course. You'll see if it's accredited. That's really important. Where you can go with it, what masters or postgrads you could do afterwards, what areas of work they intend graduates to go into. So I don't think it's a bad idea. In fact, new courses tend to have points that are a little bit less than courses that have that great tradition of having applicants over a number of years. So it wouldn't put me off if it was a new course and I saw that it had the accreditation, the modules, everything that I wanted. Absolutely go for it.
In terms of points then, how do students kind of weigh up their points predictions versus their interests?
Yeah, so points predictions, you'll get a fair idea from how you're doing in school, and you'll get a fair idea how you've done in summer exams, Christmas exams, your mocks. You'll have an idea of where you're scoring, and there will be a small bit of grade inflation as well this year. So I would say for the majority of courses, no matter what points you have, it should match your interest. So like you can do law courses here in Ireland for 200 points up to 600 points. You can do psychology courses here in Ireland from 200 points up to 600 points. So keep your options open for where you want to study. And you should have that. Now, obviously, there's ones like dentistry and medicine and things like that where you have to score high to get into those courses. But for the majority of courses, whether that's business, engineering, law, whatever it is, there should be courses within a massive range of points. So your interest and predicted grades should be able to get you a course that you really want to study.
It's more about doing that research then and just knowing your options.
Exactly. Know your options. Know what colleges offer courses in the point range that you think you're going to be. I'll be shocked if there's not 85% of courses that have a massive point range on them that you could get into easily enough.
Okay, we're going to do a little like hypothetical scenario here. So I'm a student and I'm torn between two very different fields. For example, business and science. What do I do?
So that is really tricky. It is a hard thing to do. What you could do, there's a number of things you could do. If you felt like maybe marginally I'm enjoying business, or I like business, you could put business number 1, science number 2, business number 3, science, if you wanted to do that. You could fill up your level 8 list with all business, and you could fill up your level 6, 7 list with all science. And then you could get an offer of 2 courses, one from each. So you get a science offer and a business offer. So that means you could even decide after you get your Leaving Cert results, when your CEO first round offers come out, which ones you want at that stage. Also, and again we'll talk about a little bit later when it comes to open days, but looking at modules and specialisms are really important because science degrees aren't the same everywhere and business degrees aren't the same everywhere. So just make sure it has the specialisms that you're interested in. Now when you get in there, you might think, God, human resources and business is not for me. I'm glad I didn't pick that as a level 8 degree. Or you could decide, God, yeah, this finance was I thought there was going to be loads of maths in that. It's really interested me. I'm actually going to go with that. So that's the best thing about the broader degrees. You get to try out what you'd like to do. So, and it's the same for science. So I think it's better if you're unsure, you know you like science, but you're unsure, pick a general science because you get to try out everything first before you have to commit to a specialism.
Do you think PLCs are a good option for people who are completely unsure?
Yes, I do, because it gives you that year to do more research if you're unsure. It gives you that year to learn skills that you're going to need for third level, and PLCs are brilliant for that. It gives you the option to do work experience in a PLC. So rather than you committing 4 years to something, you could do it for a year in a PLC. You come out and think, yes, this is absolutely for me. Or you come out after doing the work experience and say, that's a disaster. This career is not for me. I'm glad I didn't commit financially and for 4 years to study that degree. So PLC will allow you more of that time, give you that experience, and learn the skills to do well in college as well.
You know that saying, and it's like when someone's sitting a Leaving Cert in the house, the parents are also sitting the Leaving Cert in the house. How much weight should parents carry like in the decision making process?
So I think it's important that they give advice. I don't think they should make the decision for the student. That's really important. So the student should make that decision. Yes, give your advice as a parent, but ultimately the decision should be with the student. The parent has had their time with the CEO or degrees or doing whatever background study they did. They've had their time. That's what they're interested in. Maybe your son and daughter might be interested in something completely different. I've met parents who didn't want their kids to go into science because they didn't like science. So just because you can't wrap your head around a science degree doesn't mean your son or daughter wouldn't absolutely love it if that's what they like. And that can be difficult, but certainly give your advice. And if you're a student, ask your parents for advice as well. But ultimately, the decision should be up to the CEO applicant.
We're going to move on slightly and we're going to talk a little bit more about open days. So the first question is, why are open days so important and so valuable for students?
So it really gives you a sense when you're on campus, if you can see yourself there. As you and I, Sarah, travel around to campuses, I often think to myself, yeah, I could see myself studying here. It's a pretty cool place. I like the vibe of this place. And that's important to be able to settle in. When you see and you know the importance of societies and that, because you've made a lot of friends through your societies that you're still friends with, because
Yeah.
they have the same interests as you. So you're meeting like-minded people. So it's seeing, are those societies that you would be interested in, are they on campus? I taught a student who ended up being president of the Harry Potter Society and found his tribe and found his people. And that's really important, to find those people who are like-minded. And maybe you don't like any of that stuff. Maybe you don't like sport, or I don't like any of those other societies. There's even tea drinking societies where you just go and have a cup of tea and chat to people. A lot of colleges have tea drinking societies. So getting on campus, getting a feel for the place, seeing the facilities of the university, because some universities' facilities are better than others. And if your course is very dependent on the quality of the facilities there, then you should have a look at that too and see which is better. And then seeing the societies and the people and everything, to get that sense that, yeah, I could see myself studying here.
With open days, how should students prepare before going?
So there's a lot of preparation really before you go. So you can download things from the university website, like what talks are on, what stands are going to be there, if there's going to be current students, if there's lecturers you can talk to. Do all that before you go. But also, and this is really important, the questions you want to ask. What are the modules on the course? Is there Erasmus opportunities? Is there work experience opportunities? What are the specialisms within the degree? I wouldn't ask this lecturers, but certainly current students, what are the assignments like? What are the assessments? What's the timetable on the day-to-day like? All those things you do want to know about the course specifically. What do graduates tend to go on and work at when they finish? All those questions you want to jot down and find out the answers to. And that's really important.
What about virtual open days? I know that these were a big thing during COVID, especially. I attended a few of them. Are they worth going to?
Yeah, so a lot of the colleges still do them, because not everybody can travel around or has ease of transport access or whatever. So they do still offer virtual. And to be honest, the information is just as good. You're getting all that key information from the lecturers, from the current students, in these virtual open days. Now, at some stage, I do think you should get on campus, but it doesn't mean you can't stop researching because you can't get on campus. Absolutely go to those virtual open days, particularly if you can't get there. And one of the reasons Leaving Cert Guidance goes to all the campuses and makes videos and content from these campuses really are a lot to do with students who can't go there. Here's what they're talking about, here's what they're saying. We try to put ourselves in the student's perspective. What questions would we ask if we were there? And the students might want to know those answers too. So we're kind of like a virtual open day as well.
Would you recommend the kind of students to bring like a notepad and pen, or even your phone, and take notes?
Absolutely. Taking the notes is important, because when you go to an open day in one college, what I would do at the end is write down the pros and cons based on your notes and based on what you saw during the day. And then when I go to an open day in another college, I'm going to write down my pros and cons of that. Because if there are two colleges you're trying to weigh up, and two courses, similar courses you're trying to weigh up, you want to look at the pros and cons. And that can certainly help make your decision. So yes, bringing a notepad or taking notes on your phone or whatever, or just things that catch your eye. That's actually interesting, that college that they offer that. And you can do that. I'll use that to weigh up my decision down the line. So yes, I would say that's a good idea.
I always think you should definitely always bring another person with you if you're going to anything like that. I remember myself when I was going through the process of all the open days, I always needed to have someone else with me, because as soon as I talk to someone, the information will leave my head. So do you think it's important to bring like parents or friends or someone along with you?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right as well, because even when we go to open days, you see stuff that I don't see, and you might bring my attention to it. And your parents will certainly see stuff that you won't see, stuff they'll kind of be interested to know what the situation is. I always think parents are a lot more interested in the accommodation situation at colleges more so than students, and the cost of it and things like that, because it's an investment on their part too. So yes, if I was a parent, I would certainly look to go. Now you could say, look, you head off and I'll head off and we'll meet back here at 2 o'clock and we'll see what the situation. And often universities and colleges have parent talks as well as student-only talks, or you could go together. So I really do think it's important, if your parent can't go, to bring a brother or sister, to bring a friend, someone you can bounce off things that you saw or you heard, and see what they think. So I think, yes, it's a good idea to bring someone with you.
Do you have any tips for anyone who might be a bit more shy or introverted at these things? Because I feel like it is very overwhelming sometimes. It might be busy, crowded, and there's a lot of questions that you might have in your head. So what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so it is really tough if you're shy and you struggle to go up to people. But, and you know this, Sarah, anytime we've gone to these events, the people who are working there are only mad keen to tell you about the university and the course.
Yeah.
Whether it's current students, whether it's people working there, they want you to come over to them because that's their job. They want you to come over. They don't want to be standing there all day not doing anything or not talking to anybody. Their job is to sell the college to you, and they're selling it from their experience. A lot of these ambassadors, student ambassadors that we see at open days, they're not paid or anything, but they would give up their weekend to tell other students, this college is brilliant, my course is brilliant, and they're only happy to talk to you, and they really want to talk to you. So bear that in mind if you're shy about going up, that they really want to sell their course to you.
And I think it is a lot less intimidating as well, the fact that there's other students. That's what I feel like I always look for, other students or people who maybe are like a similar age to you that you feel like you can relate to in some way. It's just a lot less intimidating than going up to maybe the head of the school or a lecturer. There's students everywhere at all of these things.
You're right, but I do think it's important, if you are a shy person, that you do ask the questions, whether it's to a student or to a lecturer. I think it's important you ask it, because it's a skill that you're going to have to need to know going forward, is to approach people and network and do different things like that. So try your best to do it yourself, but just be aware they're mad to talk to people and sell the course and sell the university.
So after visiting an open day, what would you say is the best next step?
So I would sit down and chat to mum or dad, or someone whose advice you really take stock of. You could talk to your guidance counsellor and say, look, I was at this open day, I thought it was amazing, or I thought it's not for me. What are other options I could consider if I feel like I'm getting very overwhelmed with the idea of university? What other options do I have? So there could be lots of routes you're looking at. The guidance counsellor might be a good route. The parents, brothers, sisters, friends, the pros and cons list that I talked about earlier, writing down yourself if you want to make the decision, writing down what you thought was best about each university and each course, and reflect back on it and see which you think is best for you moving forward.
Amazing. That is it for today's episode. Thank you so much to anyone who is listening, and thank you so much, Donnchadh, for all of the tips and the actions and the feedback and everything. Remember, everybody who is listening, this is your own individual journey, so make sure to do your research, as Donnchadh said, ask loads of questions, and choose something that excites you every day, not just one that looks good on paper. If you did find this helpful, make sure to subscribe, make sure to come back and listen again, and make sure to follow us on at Leaving Cert Guidance on Instagram and TikTok. Also, if you haven't tried findmycollegecourse.ie yet, there's so many tools and useful resources available on there, so make sure to go give the website a look, and don't forget to use the code LCGPOD for 20% off. Thanks so much, Donnchadh.
Thanks, guys.